Good afternoon, Cameron University. This week in SGA, senators and representatives met for the first meeting of the semester. President Ross was in attendance to talk about the budget cuts and what it all means for Cameron University. Senator Chad Hagerman is here to give us the details. All this and more coming up on This Week in SGA. Government, President Ross discussed the budget and what cuts could mean for Cameron University. CU SGA reporter Mitch Watson has the details.
University might be facing financial turbulence as Cameron University and the state of Oklahoma are dealing with significant budget shortfalls. For This Week in Student Government, I'm Mitch Watson reporting. At this week's Student Government Association meeting, President Cindy Ross came to speak to the association, or as she calls, the voice of the students. Ross informed the students that Cameron University was working hard to reduce budget costs. She shared some of the steps Cameron was taking to reduce the operating costs, including purchasing office supplies in bulk and double-sided printing across campus. Ross firmly stated that the quality of education will always precede the budget. Although neither Cameron University nor the state has disclosed any plans involving tuition increases, students are surprisingly open to such raises. A senator for the School of Business, Stacey Cardin, said she wouldn't mind paying a little more for tuition.
I think a little bit of a tuition increase would be a good idea because, as you know, we experienced a 13-14% tuition and credit hour increase. And with all the state budget cuts, in order for us to keep from going in too much, debt or needing too much money and cutting funds and raising money this way and raising fees, because that already irritates students when you raise fees. Whereas if you were to raise tuition, that would affect every single student instead of singling out specific areas.
Stacey is not alone. In fact, during the meeting, SGA President Daniel Brown took a poll of how many students wouldn't mind paying a little more in tuition, and several students raised their hands. Again, no confirming statements show that the state or Cameron will be raising tuition. Until next week, I'm Mitch Watson reporting for This Week in Student Government.
Here with us today to talk about the budget cuts and more is Senator Chad Hagerman. Welcome, Senator Hagerman.
Thank you for having me.
Good to have you on the show today. Let's just jump right into it. Tell us a little bit about what President Ross talked about last night at the meeting.
She talked mostly about state budget cuts and how that reflects here at Cameron University, and how that we're going to have to cut back on some things, and how we have a huge budget crisis almost right now. We're looking at initiating CU Saves, a program that she had put through last semester to get students and faculty alike to suggest ways we could save money here at Cameron, and also talked about how we're just going to have to cut some programs.
Right. Now, about that CU Saves, I know that there are several different initiatives proposed by faculty, staff, and students. Could you talk about some of their favorite ones that they're looking at implementing?
Some of the ones that were looked at were things like our paper mill here in Lawton. Somebody had mentioned selling our paper off to them as a recycling program and getting money back from that. Other ones had been duplex printing, also reducing the number of Cameron materials printed every week.
Right. Now, you also mentioned the cutting of the special fees or increasing special fees. What kinds of fees are we looking at?
We're looking at fees in certain departments, particularly art department, private music lessons, the science department. Now, those aren't special fees just so that we can have more money in our pocket. What that is to keep up with the economy and how the economy is changing and how things and prices are just rising all across the board, and keeping up with those here at Cameron University.
Now, as our reporter mentioned in the package, some of the students feel that we should have an increase in tuition. However, administration is not looking at an increase in tuition. Can you talk a little bit about how that went through?
Right now, the administration isn't looking at it. Student Government Association, as the package showed, there is a poll that said that a lot of students would think that tuition raise would help us out a lot. If you look at a 1% raise in fees, that's roughly about $5 per credit hour. You roughly say that we get $100,000 or 100,000 credit hours a semester. That's a $500,000 raise. That's $1 million over a physical year.
Right. Now, when you talk about increasing tuition, that kind of goes hand in hand with our increased enrollment. Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, we had a record number of enrollment this year since the 80s. More freshmen came in and more credit hours were taken than any other year. this is great for Cameron, and this has kept us a little bit more in the black than usual. We're hoping that this enrollment keeps up so that we don't see a big downfall in our budget.
What are your personal thoughts on increasing tuition and the increase of fees?
I definitely think that we should raise tuition a little bit. We're the second lowest tuition in the state, right next to Langston University. It's a great pride to say that our tuition is, to be blunt, cheap, but to what cost are we going to go at? Should we sacrifice education? President Ross has already made a blunt statement that she will not sacrifice education for cost. So to raise tuition to keep a value of an education here at Cameron is necessary.
Yes, okay. Another one of the things mentioned in the way to cut costs was increasing class sizes. And how do you feel about that?
I think increasing class sizes in some ways is necessary. But to overdo it is not necessary. We take pride in being able to have low class sizes and having that one-on-one interaction, whereas at bigger universities you don't. With certain guidelines, I think that could be a great idea to save money.
Well, how did the administration describe that they would go about increasing class sizes?
They thought that in classes that are already in large rooms, maybe increasing a few numbers in there and consolidating smaller classes into one larger class.
Right, and you think that would help out a lot? Or?
That definitely could help out. I just don't think that we should take away classes and scheduled classes and the opportunities for students to take certain classes.
Now, what were some of the opinions or viewpoints coming from other senators and representatives?
I think a lot of people agreed with the tuition raise. That was a great idea, and we're ready to see what CU Saves initiatives could be taken to save money here at Cameron.
Now, President Ross mentioned that she's had some complaints from a few students that maybe if we wouldn't have built the Bentley Gardens or some of these new buildings that we wouldn't have to raise fees or anything. But she explained how the federal money, the allocated money to run the university is different from donated money. Could you touch on that a little bit?
Right. We have operating expenses and we have donated operating funds and donated funds. The donated funds can't be used for operating funds, and the operating funds can't be used for donated funds. So whenever Bentley Gardens was created, we did that all off of donated money from donors, alumni, and the community. And none of our operating funds were done for that. So we can't just take money from the donated fund and fix our deficit.
Right. Okay. I think it's important that a lot of students kind of understand that. And President Ross came to speak with you guys last night because you are the voice of the student body and you guys make educated decisions, so she wanted you to be well informed. Do you have any future plans for your involvement in SGA?
Definitely to stay involved. A couple legislative ideas, maybe looking at visitation hours in Shepler. Some students think that those might be a little outdated. And just to stay involved as much as possible.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show today.
No problem.
We really
Thanks for
appreciate
having
having
me,
you. In other news, the Goodwill Industries of Southwest Oklahoma and North Texas need your help. The Office of Juvenile Justice and Delinquency Prevention has sponsored with Goodwill Industries to provide mentoring to youth who are in at-risk situations. Those who wish to become Goodwill mentors are asked to commit 1-year voluntary active mentoring where they would be matched with an individual youth to create and maintain a positive and supportive relationship and to attend ongoing mentor training. The purpose of the program is to empower youth to make positive choices. Interested applicants can contact Dean Holland in the Office of Student Services. The CU Foundation is looking for students to work a phone-a-thon. Participants would be responsible for contacting Cameron graduates and friends of the university. The phone-a-thon is seeking to raise money and strengthen the relationship between the university and its graduates and supporters. Callers will be paid $8 an hour with the opportunity for bonuses and special pay based on performance. Applications should be submitted to the Office of Alumni Relations and Development in the Administration Building. The deadline to apply is February 15th. That's all the time we have left today. Tune in next week for more news from the Student Government Association. Please be sure to check out CUTV on YouTube by going to youtube.com and searching CU Internet TV. On behalf of everyone here at CUTV and for This Week in SGA, I'm Amanda Finch.